My half term has been interesting. It's the shortest out of all the holidays. I know this in February, or about the same. It's been good. Just been, I just got tons of homework to do this half term. I have like an essay or two essays in each subject, and yeah, so it's been going okay. Just haven't done much. Haven't gone out much. Just trying to do all my work, which I guess defeats the purpose of a half term in many ways. But other than that, it's been going well. We had both Dylan and I had our DofE, our gold DofE practice expedition earlier on in the week. Dylan, do you want to shed light on how that went?
Yeah, I think it went okay to be honest. So it was over Sunday and Monday, so May bank holiday, and the Sunday was with our sort of leader guide because it's a practice expedition. So we're just refreshing our skills of navigation using compasses, things like that. The Monday was a bit interesting because I think we got lost in a forest. For how long? Probably an hour, I would say we were lost.
Hour and a half, I think.
Here's the interesting thing. We were the first ones out of camp by a good half an hour. But and even though we got lost in for around an hour and a half, we still made it back to our end point where we had to get picked up in the time frame. So we did pretty good. We did pretty good.
Yeah, we walked at a decent speed.
Yeah,
Our navigation after we left the forest was very good. We
yeah.
didn't get lost.
Unfortunately, certain people in our group are a bit of baggage, but it's all right. We move. Yeah, no, it was a really good experience. I think I really enjoyed camping as well, like properly camping. Cooking. I'm not actually just gonna cook. I'm just gonna bring those Wayfarer meals now. I can't be asked to actually get out pasta and properly cook. Like I don't care.
Yeah,
So
that's why I took spare army rations I had because I do CCF. And I had spare army rations from one of the old camps we did, and I just took them. And it was very simple. You just boil the bag in the water, and then you eat straight out of the bag.
yeah,
Life's good.
it's easy. It's easy. So yeah, but no, it was a really good experience, and I'm really looking forward to the summer. I don't know about you, but August time is going to be packed. Because
Yes.
just different things. Like I think so for me, I've got the John Locke Summer School from the 6th to the 19th. Before that, I've got my driving test as well as my work experience at the Sun. And then after that, I've got the Gold DV. Then I've got JGS, which is part of Shishkinj, the charity that we're both part of. And then I'm off to St. Lucia for holiday. I get back a day, and then we've got European Youth Parliament to start off year 13. So so yeah, that's going to be really, really good fun. I can't wait for that. But yeah, no, the practice expedition I think went really well. I think we've definitely assured ourselves that we both can navigate as well as our good dear friend Manav. I think we're very good at navigating, and we've got a little check system in place where everyone triple checks each other, which is good because it ensures that we're going the right way. So really happy about that. So yeah.
Yes. How else has your half term? What else have you done this half term, Dylan?
Work, work. And unfortunately, I'm a little unwell right now, but as you could probably tell by my voice. But yeah, I have been just trying to plow through some work. Unlike you, Aniruddh, I haven't really got many essays to do. For me, it's more just mock feedback, which I'm still doing, just to make sure that I can, obviously not in time for predicted grades. They will help for predicted grades, but also just to make sure that I'm ready, I can consolidate all the year 12 content. So I'm just doing some feedback work to just some essay plans and things like that. But then I'm really starting the year 13 work right now. I'm starting to do notes on year 13 content because for me, that's the more interesting side of things. What about you? Like, are you looking forward to the year 13 stuff?
I am. Got a uni open day tomorrow. Going to Exeter. And then throughout the whole next half term, the uni open days scattered over the course of multiple weekends. And so I guess that is actually that's preparation for after year 13. But in terms of year 13 prep, I guess just doing the work we're given, reading up on what's going to come up ahead, what I'm going to learn next half term in reference to things like history, philosophy, and politics, but also just doing as much as I possibly can this half term and organizing my summer so I can try and make my personal statement as good as possible. So doing that super curricular reading, extra reading, attending different talks and different lectures, whether they be online or in person. And yeah, just doing those kind of sorts of things in preparation for year 13. Because once September hits, September all the way up until I think early November is going to be absolutely hectic. Um, but once November happens, then the main focus is just on A levels. So I think November's like almost your break month in any way, in many ways, because because you, to get the early application for UCAS, I think it's on the 16th of October, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Are you
so
doing?
once, pardon,
You're gonna do early application?
I think in order to get, I don't know, I was reading up on it, and in order to go to like Russell Group universities, in order to get an application, they recommend that you do apply like once the 16th happens, because last year the earliest time universities were offering places was in November. So if you want to be that bit ahead of the curve, then I think, yeah, the 16th of October is the day. Well, once that happens, then I have history coursework due in. And then after once December happens, we have our mocks. And so November's genuinely, I'm now just thinking about it, is going to be the only break month. And I say that, but that's just going to be the month where you just consolidate all your work and try and get on top of as much stuff as possible.
Yeah, no, definitely agreed. I think, yeah, for me, I'm going for the early applications, at least like unofficially. Like, I don't think, yeah, there's any extra thing that you have to do. Just make sure that everything's in order. But I think that for me, it's just because of degree apprenticeship as well that I need to have UCAS sort of basically sorted as quickly as possible. Um, because then degree apprenticeships as well as A levels will be taking my main focus. So yeah, that looks basically what my September to November is. And I'm actually I'm happy in the sense that I will be sort of pulling away from my extracurriculars in the sense of I'll still be doing them as outlets, but I can sort of harness my energy more towards my academic endeavors, which I definitely need to do. Um, so yeah, in terms of like, super curricular extra reading, have you been reading anything in the news or anything that's like sort of caught your eye recently?
I mean, so I want to apply for history, and in terms of purely super curricular, or I was looking at history and maybe initially I was looking at history and maybe like politics or international relations. But one of the history books that I'm currently trying to get through is a book called Mad, Bad, and Dangerous People by Boyd Hilton, which is a book that's set around 1780 to 1860, I think. I don't know. I haven't got to the end of it, so I can tell you when it ends up. When I finish it, where it ends up. And that's about Britain, Whigs and Tories, and industrialization, and Pitt the Younger, and Charles James Fox, and Peel, and all the prime ministers, and all the stuff happening politically within that time. One of the things that captured my eye in the book is looking at the formation of party politics, because politics then is something that's is very unfamiliar to us, because you used to have lots of independent MPs. Now you only have a handful, I think like 12.
Yeah.
And so I guess it's just contextualizing my information and reading extra on what my history course at A level does talk about. And yeah, and then I'm also watched a few lectures and probably going to listen to a few more lectures on the Gresham College website, which is quite good, very interesting.
Good, good. Yeah, I think so. There's been a lot going around for philosophy super curricular right now. Because I don't know if you've heard, but on the Oxford Union, they've got Professor Kathleen Stock coming on, and obviously the student union had a bit of backlash towards that because of her very controversial. I say controversial to them, but because of her open views on femininity, feminism, transgender people, and I guess it struck the chord where people were protesting, and essentially at one point the student union was looking like it was going to cut ties with the Oxford Union itself, because of Kathleen Stock coming on. And now they've managed to get her on, and they've made it very clear that if anyone needs any time, they can easily leave the hall and go to a welfare room. So, um, yeah, that was interesting developments in my opinion. And I look forward to watching the debate. I think an interesting debate that I saw on the Oxford Union website was about um, this house believes that we should support no platforming. And funnily enough, Katie Hopkins' speech was very interesting, and I really enjoyed listening to it. Um,
Mm.
yeah, and I think there's another one which is about China and China being a global superpower.
Yeah, I think it was. Oh, I can't remember it now. It was about this how China is just it had the word existential somewhere there. Let me just look it up. Um, it is oh, this house believes that China is an existential threat to our way of life.
yeah,
And yeah, that was very interesting. That was a good. That was a very good speech. Whether you agree with it or not, it was very well delivered by someone called Spencer Shear, which I listened to. And it's
yeah,
about 15 minutes long that I'd recommend listening to. And he argued that it was a threat. So yeah,
yeah.
I think, but I think that's just what you've talked about, Dylan, is a great way of mixing what you enjoy with super curricular or extracurricular, and that is that you find a balance. So you enjoy watching YouTube videos, you enjoy engaging with content in a video based format, and consequently you're watching videos based on something that that could help you and will help you in the future, or watching the news on things that about controversial, I use that word in brackets,
Exactly,
philosophers.
exactly.
And so, yeah, I think in terms of as far as super curricular goes, that's quite good, and that's why I quite enjoy the Gresham College lectures, because it's a video format. Ultimately, at the end of the day, you grow up enjoying, or I've grown up, you've grown up enjoying watching videos on YouTube, and then you've just transformed it and made it more academic as the journey's gone on.
Yeah, no, definitely. I totally agree. And but also again, it's about you find that niche bit where you really enjoy looking at it, but also you learn a lot from it. And then from there you go ham and you really start to engage in that to the nth degree, and that's really important. I think also the best thing, especially if for anyone who wants to do a degree apprenticeship or when you do end up applying into the world of work or starting your own business, is reading the news and trying to actually analyze articles yourself and where your opinion lands on them. And using models such as, the SWOT model, so strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. How is what you've read impacting the field or the service or the area of expertise that you want to go into? I think that's really important. So, one of the things that I was reading about, which was the Premier League streaming illegal services and how they've been jailed, and the amount of money that they managed to make off all of that. It's crazy, but it also opens our eye to an actual problem, which is some people like why is it that to a lot of people the hardest place to watch English Premier League matches is in England? Because if you look at like Bain Sports in like Dubai or something, like I'm using this as an example. I went to Dubai and I watched Bain Sports and all the Premier League matches were available there. Or in our hotel room, or you go to like Kenya and again Bain Sports or different channels. They all have all the Premier League matches there. But in England, if it's a 3 p.m. kickoff, yeah, you can't watch it. Um, and that is a real problem. So there's been talks of the Premier League abandoning Sky and BT and they go for their own sort of own.
And Amazon Prime, you
Yeah,
need three different subscriptions in order to watch the Premier League,
yeah,
which is, I mean, I think it's ridiculous. I mean, I guess I see what they're trying to do, trying to make as much money as possible, maximizing the profits that they can by moving it over to different streaming services. But ultimately, it makes the viewer's choice far less enjoyable due to the fact, like, if you are on a streaming service like Amazon Prime, there is that few minutes lag or 30 seconds lag between the actual game, which means that you can get a Twitter update quicker than you can actually see the goal or something that happens.
yeah.
And so,
No, definitely. So yeah, it's an interesting problem actually that's been uncovered, and how we can solve it. It's going to be interesting to see the developments of that. I think another thing that I've been sort of reading about was the US politics and sort of what's happening there. Aniruddh, do you want to go into a bit more detail about the debt ceiling and the US politics? Because I know that you're very well read up on it.
I wouldn't say I'm particularly well read up on it. I mean, I'm no politician. But so I think about 2 weeks ago now, or 1 week ago, the US suspended its debt ceiling. It passed in both houses of the Congress. And so just to give you a bit of contextual information, what the debt ceiling is, it was it's it essentially says what it does. It's a debt limit, and it was created in 1917 to encourage fiscal responsibility, and it sets out the maximum amount of federal debt the U.S. government can have on itself. And so I think as of January 2023, the debt ceiling was around 31 trillion pounds, trillion dollars, sorry. That's my rough estimate, I think, if I remember correctly. And it basically runs a and so the US government runs a deficit of almost $1 trillion per year. And so essentially what needs to happen is that in order for sorry, the words have escaped me. But so in order for the US to incur more debt than it currently has, it needs to raise the debt ceiling. And so, what happened between Kevin McCarthy, who is the Speaker of the House, and Joe Biden is that they've been arguing on whether they should raise the debt ceiling or not. It's been raised multiple, and it's been raised dozens of times over the past 50 years or 60 years. And so, Biden initially wanted it just raised and it'd be simple. They've done this multiple times. McCarthy said, no, we need to encourage more fiscal responsibility. And so refused to agree upon a deal. And what happens would be very dangerous because as in 2011, during Obama's presidency, they only raised it a few weeks before, but it made the US economy go into a complete whirlwind for a few weeks or a few months. And so if the US did not increase its debt ceiling, which it's done, thankfully. Sorry, there was a Zoom pop-up thing that's now really thrown me off. But if the US doesn't reach its debt ceiling, which if the US didn't reach that ceiling, I should say, then it could send the US economy into a whirlwind. But it's reached its thing, it's been suspended, and the debt ceiling will be raised. But I mean, that's just an example. I mean, that's an example of something that I'm interested in US politics. Dylan, anything that is interesting you in US politics currently?
I haven't read up too much about it, but I think the general thing about DeSantis and Trump and sort of their relations and how that's going to work is really interesting. So again, I don't know too much about it, but I think for all of you at home, if you're interested in the political landscape of the world, you need to like US, UK, probably China, India, Russia, just global in that sense. If you can read up and get sort of an understanding of their whole domestic situations, it'll help you understand the international relations a little bit easier. So yeah, definitely the things regarding DeSantis and what his moves are with Trump, and the whole thing regarding Trump as well is quite interesting just to read about more than anything. But I think also for me, I was looking at The Conversation. That's a great website, The Conversation. It's about academic rigor and journalistic flair, and it's essentially about how can we talk about current affairs, but in a really academic way in terms of really having no sort of what's the word political bias or journalistic bias to it. It's about what are the facts or where does the literature sort of take us. And one of them, which I found really interesting, was about the immigration data. So what does high immigration mean for the government's popularity? So what data on voting habits tells us? So that was written by Paul Whiteley from the University of Essex. And it was quite interesting because if you actually look at the immigration data, which was put on the BBC regarding the government and how before Brexit, all the media coverage was regarding, we're having a lot of immigrants from the EU, right? But actually, if you look at the data, immigration hasn't stopped because we were misguided in our views of where people were immigrating from. It's not actually from the EU. It's from the countries of Syria, Syria, Afghanistan, the Middle East to an extent, India, Kenya, like those type of countries. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, like those type of countries, which obviously are not in the EU, but because of the way that the media sort of put it, it's quite interesting in that respect, regarding the immigration data and what that means for the government's popularity, especially because of the way that they're shaping this narrative.
A very quick question for you.
Yes.
You said the word bias. You said
Oh.
the conversation is not biased. My question is, how can you be assured that something's never biased or not biased at all?
Okay, fine. I'll take your point. I guess when I say it's not biased, I would be referring to the general media articles that we have in the Guardian, the Times, the Daily Telegraph, the Daily Mail, all of those. So the conversation is a lot less biased compared to that. What I would say is, in terms of when we talk about bias, the good thing about the conversation is if you're going to have bias, you're going to have it on both sides. In terms of it's going to be equal weighting. So therefore, there is no heavily bias in one favor because they will make sure that there is equal weighting to both sides because then it's on the reader to make their informed decision and therefore form their own view and opinion of it.